welcome to a discussion on digital image versus digital photographs. A lot of people get confused about digital photograph and digital image. So, I thought that I will have a complete separate discussion on this topic to make things very clear about these two things. Because as we know that a picture is a very old saying that picture tells 1,000 words, and I have added to that saying that a satellite image can tell 10,000 words. So, this is because a lot of interpretations after analysis of satellite image, a lot of interpretations can be done. The same because we have also discussed that satellite or remote sensing is a generic technology. So, a single satellite image can be used by different experts for different applications. One may use for mineral exploration, one may use for water exploration, one may use for vegetation related studies, and one may use for planning and natural disasters and other things. So, the same image can be used by various people. So, that is why this saying that a picture tells 1,000 words and whereas a satellite image can tell 10,000 words. Now, let us come back to our original discussion, that is about digital image versus digital photograph. So, before this advent of computer, invention of modern sensors or digital cameras, the photographs were taken on a film, and that used to be the technique. Also, sometimes these were exposed on a film or directly sometimes on a paper of a different kind of paper, of course, photographic paper. And then we used to have these kinds of prints. Those are not basically, we cannot use word digital. They are when they were taken by camera using a film, then we used to call as a photograph. Now, because on aircraft also were employed and which were equipped with these cameras, film cameras, to take the photo of part of the earth, and we used to call as aerial photographs. So, they were basically these were taken by a camera and on a film or for negative film, and then prints were generated, and those were called photograph, whether it is a handheld camera or airborne camera. But in case of these when we say digital photograph, that means the photograph has been scanned and it has been from analog, it has been converted to digital format. So, we can call as a digital photograph, but still we should not call as a digital image, because it has not been developed as a digital image is generated through sensors on board of satellite or even with the current digital camera technology. Because these are analog, the photographs are analog, and we had these silver coated films, very sensitive films, and just a few seconds of exposure used to record different reflection of different parts of the earth or face of a human, and these photographs were generated. So, this when we started this digital era, and especially we started with the satellites sensors, based sensors, to capture the photos instead of basically films. So, these were instead of on films or in negative form, they were taken as in digital forms. So, as we know that digital photographs could be presented and viewed with a computer, but when they are how they have taken, that matters, that decides whether it is a photograph or an image. As you know, in case of image, when we say spatial resolution, so if I say if I take an example of 10 meter spatial resolution, so for 10 meter by 10 meter ground area, one aerial aerial average of say reflection has been recorded as 1 pixel value. Let me repeat again, for a 10 meter spatial resolution satellite image, for individual pixel say 10 meter by 10 meter 100 square meter area, aerial average of all the reflection has been taken and recorded as a pixel value. This does not happen in case of photographs because it depends on the on the grains of silver or material which are pasted on the film. So, there the technology or concept is completely different in case of photograph than compared to these satellite images. Now, these photographs are also called snapshots because they have been taken just in few seconds while exposing that film through that camera and lenses. Whereas a digital image is not a snapshot, it is scanned line by line and then image is created as happened in case of airborne sensor. So, there should not be any confusion about a digital image and digital photograph or an image and photograph, because photograph is a snapshot and recorded on a film, whereas or even digitally it can be, and this I will give you also example of little later. However, these differences between digital image and digital photographs we can now put very systematically that in case of image, any visual object that has been modified or altered at pixel level by a sensor, because at pixel level aerial average is being taken and therefore we, instead of a real thing, it is an image of that pixel has been recorded as one single pixel value. Whereas in case of photo or photographs, anything taken by a camera or digital camera or photocopier for against that grain which is matter, density of grains can improve the quality of an image or photograph, but that is still be called as a photograph. And also sometimes a word is used as picture. So, when we if we want to differentiate between photo and picture, that is a picture is a drawing, painting or artwork created on a computer, that can be called a picture. Picture is also used to describe anything which is created using a camera. So, there is not much difference basically between a photo and a picture taken by a camera or a digital camera, but there is definitely lot of difference between an image and a photograph, no matter whether it is a digital or analog. So, if we see in Google or the trends about the photo, which is used more than of any of these words on the internet, followed by an image, photograph or then picture. So, photo word is most common, and sometimes people say satellite photo. If we say satellite photo, that is not the photo of the satellite, but the image taken by the satellite or part of the earth. So, basically it should have been the more appropriate word in case of satellite imaging is the image, not the photograph. Though there are satellites like these geostationary satellites which take snapshots, and then we can call them as a satellite photographs or satellite images, but they are basically should be put in the category of photograph. So, there are various visual objects which are created on computer and that may fall into their own category, such as clip art, graphic, illustrations. So, we put them sometimes in the category of a picture or a photo. Some may use word image, but that is not appropriate for such things like clip art, graphic or illustrations or figures. So, what we basically say in other words that the clip art and other things are really pictures, not photographs. They have been created by some artist maybe using computers or hand drawings. So, now let us define exactly what is an image. An image is a pictorial representation of an object or a scene that may be of a human if it is taken by a digital camera, or may be part of the earth if it is taken by a space-borne sensor. There are different forms of images. The images can be analog, images can be digital, or analog images sometimes we may call as a photograph. So, photograph when we define photograph, that is produced by photographic sensors on paper based or paper or film based on media or transparent media. So, when we say film, it is transparent media. When we say paper, then it is simple media. And the variations in the scene characteristics are represented as variations in the brightness as gray shades. Though here it is talked about gray shades, but there can be the colored photographs also. And objects reflecting more energy, as also is a common in case of image also, that objects which reflects more energy will appear in photographs or images as brighter, and objects which are reflecting less energy will appear darker. That is true in both the cases. What exactly digital image, how we would like to define digital image produced by electro-optical sensors. Now here some sensors may not be exactly optical sensors, but still we may call as digital image. In case of like in radar remote sensing or in thermal remote sensing, again the things may be little different. Nonetheless, produced by electro-optical sensors, lenses are always there. So, and there are CCDs or other electronic things are there. So, that is why this electro-optical sensors, when these are used to produce an image, then we call as a digital image, which is composed of tiny equal sized square picture elements, that is pixels, arranged in a two-dimensional matrix. This is a typical raster where each pixel or each cell would have the same size and the shape it will always have is square, and that way a digital image is created. But in case of photograph, the grains which are on the film or on the paper may not be having the same size, and therefore there is a difference here. And the pixel is representing aerial average of a particular area. If it is having 1 meter resolution, that means 1 square meter area of the ground or a face, it is representing as a one single pixel value. So, each pixel is basically associated with a number or pixel value. Sometimes we also call digital number or brightness value. In case of gray level, it records the variations of radiant energy which is in discerned form. And after object reflecting more energy, as said, that will record a high number of value and more brighter in case of gray scale, and objects which are having reflecting less energy will be recorded in the low pixel values. When a photograph, or in short we say photo is taken, it is always taken by a camera, and whereas an image is taken by a sensor. That is this difference we have also touched earlier, that a snapshot or photograph is taken by a camera. In a split second or few seconds, a snapshot of a part of the earth or a face or a scene is taken, whereas sensor takes lot of time. So, though both may be the digital, that is why digital image and versus digital photograph we are discussing. So, a picture is the most general term of any representation of a person or object or a landscape, whereas a sensor may be a handheld camera or on board of satellite. So, these two things are possible. When I was mentioning about that satellites also takes snapshots, those are basically digital photographs. These are not typical digital images taken by the satellite, because scanning is not done. It is just a snapshot. Like if I take the example of INSAT series of our satellites, they take a snapshot of a part of the globe, or be also called as a disk, and India is in the center because this is geostationary satellite. So, this has been referenced or synchronized with the movement of the earth and focusing over India. So, India is in the center. So, this is India centric disk which is created. This snapshot is taken, it is depending on the programming, maybe after 15 minutes, maybe after half an hour. Likewise, these discs are recorded. These are a snapshot, though they are in digital form, not analog form. And then these are transmitted from satellite towards the earth, and we record it and utilize it. The advantage with such snapshots is that for any kind of studies related with the meteorology, especially with the movement of cyclones, every 15 minutes when you are having a snapshot of say part of the country and surroundings, it becomes very easy to monitor basically the movement of such cyclone or the eye of that or the front, and therefore these play very important role for many applications, but these are snapshot though in digital format. A similar example of Meteosat, which is also a geostationary satellite focusing elsewhere, not over India, and there also the disk is created and same applications are also of use, but these are digital snapshots. So, digital photographs represents a snapshot taken by a camera, because on board you are having either INSAT, Meteosat or many other such satellites, you are having these cameras, digital cameras, they take the snapshot and transmit the data, though the data comes in digital format. So, we call them a digital snapshot or digital photograph. And whereas a photograph or photo is always taken with a camera in which a fixed size CCDs of 2-dimensional matrix is inbuilt. In case of digital camera, which is on board of these satellites, or also the quality or electronics may be different because the distance is much more and not maybe like handheld camera nonetheless. And generally, whereas in case of satellite borne sensors are having array of CCDs, and therefore an image is built line by line after scanning. That is very, very important, and that makes one of the major differences between digital image and digital photograph. As satellite moves, and this array of CCDs continuously cover that strip of the earth, whatever the swath, depending on the swath, and line by line the part of the earth is recorded by these satellites based sensors, and there we say a digital image, or in short also we call as image. And as I have said, on pixel level, aerial average value is recorded, that may be reflection, that may be emittance from part of the earth. So, this like here, this is one example is there, that turning light into a digital file, how this is converted. So, if you are having some objects like here, some objects are shown through lens, then you are having a 2-dimensional array in case of digital photograph, and then after certain processes you get the data recorded, and that becomes here digital. So far at this stage it is analog, and finally you record in some recording device, maybe a SD card or some other thing there within the camera. So, this is the typical arrangement of a digital camera, which converts your analog things, capture light into image pixels, but still it is a snapshot. Whereas in case of satellite based sensors like push broom scanner, only in the previous lecture we have discussed the hyperspectral remote sensing, and there in this Hyperion is a push broom scanning. So, line by line is a scanned part of the earth. Here is the swath, this is the direction of the movement of the satellite, and line by line is being scanned, not as a snapshot of the entire scene is taken. So, as you know, if we talk about the unit of any digital image, then it is a pixel, which represents an aerial average, this I have been mentioning, of a value maybe of reflection or emission, and that may be from any kind of surfaces, and whereas cell of a photograph represents the only instant point value, not an average value. It depends on the grain size basically of the film or negative on which this material is there, and that is the instant or point value, not an aerial average value. So, the unit in case of image is a pixel, unit in case of a photograph is that material, and that material is a point value. not a continuous like in case of pixel. So, we can say that a digital image is a continuous representation through aerial average of part of the earth or a face or scene, whereas a digital photograph or photograph taken by a camera, maybe digital camera, is a discrete recordings, maybe in 2-dimensional, maybe in a digital form, but it is discrete, it is not continuous and not representing an aerial average, it is representing instant or point value. And digital photograph, as you know, is taken within few seconds, that is why called a snapshots, whereas a satellite image recorded constructed line by line and may take several minutes. If I give example of NOAA HRR, when it is flying overhead, means the overhead overpass is there, and that means when it is flying over the almost over the antenna, then we may get a construction of image for 14 minutes, 12 minutes to 14 minutes. And line by line on the system itself, when data is coming, you can see that how image is being built there. So, that is the major difference in case of image, but in case of digital photograph, it is just a snapshot. So, this brings to the end of the discussion between a digital photograph and a digital image. One should not get confused in future. Thank you very much.